Dying. We all gotta do it. At least once, unless you're Mr. Beast, in which case you die every time you pose for a thumbnail. We spend a lot of our waking time curating our lifestyle so that we may exact as much meaning as we can from our limited time on Earth as possible. But you know what? Enough about lifestyles. Enough about living. We need to talk about dying, because that's where the real meaning is. I want to talk about how your future plans for your corpse can give you a tangible sense of purpose while you're still alive. I'm gonna tell you why you need to steer clear of traditional burials and cremation, and what you should do instead. But first and foremost, why do we even bother with a funeral in the first place? So once upon a time, in a land far, far away, known as ancient Greece, there was just some guy. His name was Diogenes the Cynic. Super positive guy. He told everybody that when he died, he wanted his body to be devoured by the birds and the beasts. I mean, as far as he's concerned, his corpse is as valuable as an animal carcass. Diogenes also voluntarily lived in a large clay wine jar and masturbated in public, which begs the question, is he seeing anyone, or? I mean, you could argue that Diogenes is right. We don't need our corpse. Why make such a fuss about it? He's just a minimalist with a high libido, and you don't know him like I know him. I can fix it. The thing is, looking after our dead and giving them a proper burial and a final resting place is distinctly and remarkably human. There is something in our molecular makeup that is fundamentally repulsed by the sight of a dead body left unattended and uncared for. Author Yulia Kristeva articulated this beautifully in her book, The Power of Horror, an essay on objection. She wrote, quote, "The corpse seen without God and outside of science is the utmost of objection. It is death infecting life. As in true theater without makeup or masks, refuse and corpses show me what I permanently thrust aside in order to live. There, I am at the border of my condition as a living being." To treat our dead bodies as if they were just carry-on, as misunderstood genius and voluntarily homeless sweetheart Diogenes suggested, is to disregard its humanity and the society from which it came. In the animal kingdom, we have a monopoly on funerals. Really, other than a few species of elephants who seem particularly interested in the dead bodies of their friends, when an animal dies, the creatures around it are quick to treat that body as just regular matter. The behavior is trademarked and copyrighted human. Elephants are one attempted hole, one trunk full of dirt away from a cease and desist. It is the fence separating humanity from the natural world. So among modern humans, it's a practice that goes back to the Upper Paleolithic, so that's 40,000 to 10,000 BCE. But we also know that some Neanderthals buried their dead. Philosopher Hans-Georg Gadamer wrote in his book Reason in the Age of Science, quote, "It is a matter of the fundamental constitution of human being from which derives the specific sense of human practice. We are dealing here with a conduct of life that has spiraled out of the order of nature." I mean, okay, think about it. From an evolutionary perspective, there is nothing about spending precious kilojoules of our energy on burying our big back Uncle Grok that sets us up for dealing with the elements. And it's not like we're doing this because the type A personalities among us wanted the cave to look spick and span for when the next tribe came over to bang bones on rocks together. It has nothing to do with hygiene. Rather, our relationship with the dead is more so a testament to our relationship with our mind and our imagination. When somebody dies and we are left with this souvenir of organic matter, although lifeless, we believe that this corpse continues to bear relationship to that person, and we act accordingly. A dead person can take up many forms in our mind, whether that be a memory, a ghost, a spirit. Their avatar remains on Earth, and is the here and now that we project these images onto. And so, of course, we treat it with care. We believe that our memory of this person corresponds with the corpse in front of us. I mean, we maintain relationships with the dead, just like we maintain parasocial relationships with celebrities. Ray Bradbury talked about how when he was a young boy and his grandfather, who was a sculptor, passed away, he never really got over it. He said, quote, "When he died, I suddenly realized that I wasn't crying for him at all, but all the things he did. He was a part of us, and when he died, all the actions stopped, and there was no one to do them just the way he did. He was individual. The world was bankrupted of 10 million fine actions the night that he passed on." We are social creatures. We take up space, we are connected to the people and places and things all around us, and when we pass and we leave an absence in our social network, it takes time for that wound to heal. In a 1907 paper, Richard Hertz, cut right there. I feel so guilty. I thought his name was Richard Hertz, but his name is Robert, and I didn't realize that I misread his name until I started searching for images of him while I was editing, and then Pete Davidson's character from the Suicide Squad starts popping up, and I was like, okay, so what, they're just turning French sociologists into superheroes now? Like, nothing against the French or, sociologists. I was just baffled. And then I realized I accidentally made a Dick Hertz joke, and I feel really guilty because this guy was actually such a brilliant sociologist, and he was sent to war and killed super young, and he's just a perfect example of how wars rob the world of talented, brilliant people. But yeah, I'm sorry, Robert. He wrote about how the dead have two lives, one in culture and one in nature. Our biological death takes just a mere moment, but our social death takes time. Of course, when someone dies, we want to honor the role that they played, and we want to send them off to the next phase, whatever that may be. And funerals do have their psychological benefits. Seeing the body resting peacefully allows people to accept the death, and funerals in general provide an opportunity to adjust to the loss of a loved one. Funerals are just our thing, it's just our brand as a species. And it's especially on brand when you consider the fact that we've made it so that dying, one of the most natural things there is unsustainable. When we die, we take a little bit of the earth with us. There were an estimated 3.4 million deaths in the United States in 2021. There was a 19% increase in the US due to COVID. Considering the fact that with temperatures rising, pandemics will become more likely, this is notable. But the two most popular methods of traditional burial and cremation are both horrendous for the environment in their own sick and twisted way. So let's start with burials, okay? Here's the thing. When you're dead, hate to break it to you, but you're not going to be looking that great. If you are planning on soaking up all the attention you can on your big day, then you're going to want to be embalmed. Embalming is just filler for the dead. It's where bodily fluids are drained and replaced with chemicals in order to slow decomposition. Formaldehyde is the main chemical that is routinely used in embalming. I will be popping up throughout the rest of this video because there were a few points that I did not drive home as much as I wanted to. Going off what I was saying about formaldehyde, it is estimated that more than 800,000 liters of formaldehyde are buried every year. And furthermore, it is also classified as a probable carcinogen by the Environmental Protection Agency, which yeah, I know. Who cares if the dead get cancer? The best part about being dead is being able to smoke as many cigarettes as you want. But no. As the formaldehyde-filled body begins to decompose, it produces this grayish liquid called necroslurry. But necroslurry can contaminate the soil and pass into the groundwater and underground wells, especially in urban cemeteries where there is no system for collecting it. This can especially impact those who live close to the cemetery. So, Phoebe Bridgers, you've been warned. Also, formaldehyde sounds like something a Viking would shout when he goes into battle. Maldehyde is his village, and he's, defending it. So he's like, formaldehyde! Anyways, when you are buried in the ground in a coffin, the materials in the coffin break down and contaminate the soil composition and the groundwater. So wood coffins. Wood coffins are often not sourced sustainably, and they can also be preserved with creosote, which has the potential to release dioxins, furans, and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons to the environment. Other potentially harmful substances like arsenic, zinc, copper, and lead, they can also leach from the metal fittings, and also the varnishes and sealers and the wood preservatives can leach into the soil. Reports show that cemetery pollution produces an alteration in microbiological components and increases the prevalence of heavy metals in the soil. Now, really quickly, I want to talk about these heavy metals and why they're so terrible. When these heavy metals are swallowed or inhaled into our body, they bioaccumulate. When these heavy metals enter the soil, they are absorbed by plants, and then whatever animal eats that plant then absorbs the heavy metals into their body, and then it just goes through the food chain. We need heavy metals to survive, but only a little bit. Organelles, which are components of the cells that make up our entire body and all of our tissues and everything, all our organs, they have been reported to be damaged by these elements. Heavy metals can also cause DNA damage through exposure, which I think that is the way to market this to Republicans, okay? How are we gonna grow Sydney Sweeneys from the soil if our DNA is being damaged? Bro, when you're buried, your corpse is straight up hindering the flora and fauna. Ew, bro! Bro, stop altering the chemical composition of the soil with your necroslurry. So there was this big change during the Enlightenment era, right? Science began to demystify things. Death kind of lost its metaphysical properties, and it just became a part of life. Religion became optional, too. One cornerstone of many religions is that there will be life after death. Burying it peacefully sleeping, if your soul happens to still be lingering around your corpse, it kind of gives time for that soul to leave. No worries, take your time. Cremation kind of made it feel like there was no possibility for the soul to ascend to a higher realm. Again, it's our relationship with the imagination. We feel that this corpse still bears relation to that person, to their soul. When you totally incinerate it, you could deconstruct a body into its elements within an hour. Because you know what? Decomposing as nature intended takes way too long. Diogenes won. The body lost its VIP status. It was just something to dispose of. It was all about hygienics now. It stripped away the sentimentality from death. Many people were dismayed about the idea because it seemed to totally rule out any possibility of anything after death. Guys, are we sure that the body doesn't come back to life? Many people do choose cremation though because they think it's better for the environment. Cremation produces a significant amount of CO2. One cremation is estimated to produce about 532 pounds of carbon dioxide. That's about equal to a 609-mile car journey. Now, if you're Taylor Swift, this probably turns you on. By 2040, the cremation rate in the US is projected to be 78.7%, while the burial rate is projected to be just 15.7%. The burning of their bodies for the old people is kind of like the last middle finger to the climate crisis. But think about it for a second, okay? You are made of entirely organic material, and when you cremated, you are turned into something extremely toxic. After the body is burned, what's left are these large bone fragments, which are then grinded down into a fine powder. So the ashes aren't really ashes at all. Actually, there is very little ash in this. It strips our body of almost all the nutrients it contains, and what's left is this highly concentrated sodium, which has an incredibly high pH of 11.7. So it's not just the process that's harmful, but the remnants. This pH is way too high for any soil. Whatever, if you're cremated, it's your funeral. It's actually quite sad how it entirely severs your body from the land from which it came. I mean, your body, which was once made of purely organic material, is now fundamentally toxic to the environment. No, don't cremate yourself. You're so nutrient dense and good for the soil. Why would you return a book that you borrowed from the library to the fucking oven? What are you doing? That's not where you got it. Why would you take a book from the library, soak it in formaldehyde, and then put it back? What are you doing? No! This is why you should opt for a green burial. Be buried in an unmarked grave in the middle of nowhere. Because the body is not embalmed, nutrients return from the environment at a natural pace. The availability of said nutrients benefit the flora and fauna. You're also buried 3 feet rather than 6 feet, so it increases interaction with the surface level biology. You can have your coffin sourced from natural biodegradable materials like bamboo, hemp, willow, cardboard. Materials like this are likely to degrade quicker. They offer less protection so that decomposition can just get on with it. I mean, this is just elementary. It is so insane that we have somehow managed to fuck up dying. You know, we're gonna die. We're all gonna die. We are just borrowing the elements that make up our body. They deserve to go back into the earth because that's where we got it in the first place. To die and then to naturally decompose into the soil, what more could you ask for? I'm not the Grim Reaper, okay? I don't care about your soul like he does. I just want your body. I'm representing the soil microorganisms here. I mean, the soil is amazing. It is alive. The soil is teeming with so much life that we will never be able to fully comprehend. 1 gram of soil, a quarter of a tablespoon, can harbor up to 10 billion microorganisms. Who are we to pollute it unnecessarily when we need this to survive? Not to sound like in my free time I finger earthworms, but soil is the god of the earth. All right, I would like to expand upon this statement that makes me sound like I have braided armpit hair, Your Honor. According to the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, 95% of our food comes directly or indirectly from the soil. So directly refers to like the fruits and the vegetables and the plants and grains that we would consume, and indirectly would refer to the crops that we use as fodder to feed our livestock that we then consume. We eat these foods, and then our body uses these foods to repair our body and maintain homeostasis so that we can, you know, live, laugh, and love, as the prophecy suggests. According to nature.com, there are 29 elements that are deemed essential for human life. Out of these 29 elements that are considered essential for us to live, 18 of them are either essential or beneficial to plants and are absorbed through the soil. These elements are assimilated into the plant, and then we eat the plant and it's assimilated into our body. Or an animal eats that plant, it's assimilated into their body and their cells, and then we eat that animal. You get it. It wasn't until the early 1920s when the idea that the soil could have an impact upon human health was generally accepted. McCarrison in 1921 concluded that the fertility of a soil determines the nutrient content of food crops and therefore the health of humans who ate the crops. In the 1940s, Sir Albert Howard, also known as the founder of organic agriculture, talked about the law of return and the importance of returning organic material or organic waste to the soil. And the concept of soil security has been growing alongside food and water security. One dimension of soil security outlined by McBratney et al. In 2014 is connectivity. Soil connectivity is the idea that the value a society puts on the soil directly influences how the soil is treated. If a society doesn't care about something or they don't see the value in it, they're not going to take care of it. It takes 500 years minimum to create 1 inch of topsoil. 500 years minimum. We have to protect the longevity of every single milligram of soil because this isn't going to replenish in our lifetime. Once it's gone, it's gone. Now, I'm not saying that your body will be used for fertilizer that will, grow crops that will feed humans, unless you wanted it to, in which case, I know a guy, but it will inevitably be used by some other form of life. All terrestrial life depends upon the health of the soil. And if you can be a good part in that, how cool is that? The solace of death is that it is a source of life. This is a beautiful truth that we somehow refuse to accept. And I get it, it's scary to think about and contemplate death. I'm sorry that this is such a grave video. The thing is, our conviction that things matter, that All of this is not for nothing. It is sustained by the confidence that life will continue after we are gone. The flowers will bloom, the sun will set for millions and millions of years until the sun implodes. What a beautiful donation your life can be to the life that has yet to come. I mean, they need your body more than you do. You had your fun with it, bro. Now let the bugs feast. Let the bugs unionize. You think all that cellulite is for nothing? In the book, Natural Burial, Traditional Secular Spiritualities, and Funeral Innovation, the authors wrote, quote, "These issues of identity, control, and choice are all deeply significant for natural burial, for it is, at present, the quintessential expression of choice in relation to our bodies, albeit after death. We may not be able to choose how or when we die. We can choose a whole series of things regarding our post-mortal social presence in addition to the long-established practice of writing a will that will enact one's life wishes when one is dead. These, paradoxically, also influences some people's sense of themselves while still alive." I mean, I personally have so much existential anxiety and fear of death. I feel like a lot of people do. The idea that I will just go back into the soil, that gives me so much peace. Are you kidding me? It makes me feel like how I felt when I listened to the song If I Die Young by Perry the Band as a kid. You know, it's like, I'm so excited. Let's go. Who cares? I'm gonna die and the bugs are gonna eat me and it's all gonna be fine. Beautiful. I must play devil's advocate and state the obvious, which is that the carbon footprint of the death of an individual is unfortunately very small in comparison to the carbon footprint of said individual's life. And in no way does going back into the soil undo all of the damage that we may have caused to the environment by living in harmful systems like capitalism. As much as I believe in this like ecological lullaby that I'm selling here, unfortunately, like most things, this is obviously an issue of systemic caliber. And I'm just advocating for an individual solution, when obviously we need an entirely new approach to funerals from the industry itself. By piggybacking off what the authors said, I would argue that consistently reminding ourselves that our physical avatar will inevitably return to the earth and to the soil, I would argue, I would gamble, that I would hypothesize even, it can help rekindle our sense of interconnectedness with nature, which can then potentially inspire us to choose a more sustainable lifestyle. I mean, it's already been proven in multiple studies that spending time in nature promotes social cooperation and environmentally sustainable behaviors. And according to this study, spending time in nature has also been proven to promote prosociality, which is defined as actions intended to benefit others or the collective. So obviously by nurturing like a tangible connection with nature, with the natural world, we are able to see ourselves as part of something bigger than just us and act with more consideration towards the world around us. I'm extrapolating something that's like, this is a totally different subject and I'm kind of just extrapolating this and using it for my own benefit. I understand. I think that we should all just contemplate the fact that our dead body has a job to do. Okay, we should all die in service of the soil. You know, like I said at the beginning of the video, without the funeral, there kind of is no human culture. You know, this is our one thing. We need to find a way to make this sustainable. I think Diogenes was kind of onto something, okay? At the end of the day, we are creatures. Our bodies are no more valuable than an animal carcass in the sense that they both play the same role in decomposing and returning its nutrients to the soil. I wouldn't say that our bodies are something to carelessly throw away, as Diogenes would. You know, they're more so something to be intentionally returned. I see no reason why we can't, marry the tradition of burial fueled by our love for the deceased with an acknowledgement of our organic origins. Norwegian philosophical artist Edvard Munch, known for his painting The Scream, he experienced a couple vision-like experiences that they altered his life and they totally changed his thought process about death. He said, quote, "I felt it as a sensual delight that I should become one with, become this earth which is forever radiated by the sun in a constant ferment, and which lives, in which will grow plants from my decaying body, trees and flowers, and the sun will warm them, and I will exist in them, and nothing will perish, and that is eternity." That's all I have. Thank you so much for watching. I'm working on one video that is so long. I hate it. And you'll see that hopefully this year sometime, at some point. Love you guys. I have a second channel now. Subscribe to the second channel. Because that's where I post vlogs and I'm more active there. This is for video essays. Give you a kiss. Ready? Okay, my turn. Thanks. Okay, I'll see myself out. Bye.